So I've seen that you're promoting at the LA Clippers, LA Kings, I believe, UFC. What kind of returns are you seeing on that? Or because I mean, obviously, I don't know. It's awesome to have that kind of advertising, but I don't know if there's really any return or what the return looks like.
It is difficult to get a return on it. I mean, that to your point, it's always going to be difficult because it's incredibly nuanced. And I think where the return comes in is, well, number one, the post-purchase survey tends to uptick when we do an activation somewhere. And inevitably, when people make a purchase, we ask them, where do you find us? They choose Clippers. And then if enough people, if we made enough of an impact, it should show up there in the data, at least a little bit, which is not a perfect system, but it's directional. I think where brand really comes into play, though, more than anything, is ultimately in the moments of retail. So now, we're in Target, we're in Costco, we have retail stores. And I noticed that when people walk by our store or our stand at Costco, they take a double take and they notice the brand and they remember it. They don't exactly know where they remember it from, but they lean in, they feel the shirt, they like it. It all starts to connect pretty quickly. They see the side by sides, they see some of our marketing right there live on the spot. And I think it all starts to come together. And, ultimately the way you got to think about it is an investment. It's like building equity. You got to invest in attention. You got to invest in people. And brand is just one of those buckets you just can't go too crazy on, but you also can't do zero. So we're kind of, in the middle of that. We're not spending a lot, but we're not spending nothing. We're definitely spending millions, but we're not Bud Light that is spending hundreds of millions. So it's really just relative to kind of what you can afford as a business. We still put most of our money into direct response advertising on, Facebook, Google, TikTok, all that good stuff. So
Awesome. I just saw you were valued at like 850 million, I believe, too, which is impressive. I'd love to talk about tariffs in general because right now it's kind of like there's going to be tariffs and then there's a pause and then there might be and then there's NAFTA and I know you have stuff coming in from all over, I believe, or at least Mexico. So what are your thoughts on that? You don't have to get too specific unless you're okay. I mean, I don't want to,
yeah,
yeah.
no,
What
it's
are your
not.
thoughts?
It's
And
not
the main
really.
well, I was going to say
Yeah.
the main thing is from a business perspective, you usually want certainty to a degree. So it just seems super uncertain. So what are your thoughts?
So what tariffs will inevitably do will be that we will lose profitability, which means we have to pass that on somewhere. We just can't lose a bunch of profitability overnight and sustain the company, just like most companies. They have to pass that lack of profitability on to the customer. So ultimately, it's the customers who pay in these situations. Because if tariffs go up in countries that, and the inventory is coming in and we get taxed on that, then we have to find a way to make up that delta. And so, if everything goes down the way that it was going down weeks ago, we would be in a position where we would just have to raise prices. So it creates inflation for everybody. And that's not just me, that's just anybody who gets goods imported in from overseas, which is, 90% of businesses, especially e-com, because there's just no way around it. You just can't make the same thing here in the United States and have a sustainable business, unfortunately. You'll be paying 4x the price. So people say, well, why not just manufacture here? Well, yeah, that's really easy to say in theory, but in practice, it's just not viable. The margins aren't there, and without the margins, you really have no business. You can't just be spinning your wheels and having no profit and creating this arbitrage for no reason. The profits have to land somewhere, and they have to build the company, and that's how we reinvest in the company. That's how we build a bigger company, is on the backbone of the profits, not just the revenue. So, there's operating capital and then there's profit, and that profit is really important to everybody. So, I think what'll happen is that, made some moves to get some deals done. And same thing he did with Mexico, where he threatened them with, the 25% tariff, and then Mexico caved and did a deal. He's just kind of using the same playbook as he is with all these other countries. And so I think what inevitably will happen, other than China. So obviously China we've been trying to kind of diversify away from for a while. And we have for the most part, just as, a way to kind of safeguard the business. You just don't want to be tied to any one country on anything manufacturing wise. So I think we have less than 5% of our stuff still being made in China. I think it's mostly like our accessories and stuff, which is a very small part of the business. But I'm not overly worried. I kind of knew that this was a bit of a song and dance, and the markets all responded accordingly. So I think, even if he did do these sweeping tariffs across every country, there will be some that will have trade agreements where the deficit is lowered and it's a better deal for the United States. And so let's just say Vietnam, for example, that was one of the first ones that was kind of brought up in the news. And so we would just move everything to Vietnam. I mean, that's really what it would come down to. We would just have to move all of our manufacturing there, which wouldn't be the hardest thing in the world, but it definitely wouldn't be easy. It would take us months to do that. It's a lot of logistics and operations. It's chaos for that department, but we would be fine at the end of the day. And even if we had to raise prices a little bit, it wouldn't make or break us. People would still buy us, and we'd still have a lot of volume.
Anyone have a question? Yes, we got one. She was fast. Okay, what do you got? Let's say here. You say it loud. I'll hold the.
So it looks like your target market is mostly middle-aged men, and I'm wondering, you've introduced some new products as well, and I'm wondering if your target market is shifting, and if so, where and how you're marketing to this new target market.
So we have kids rolling out this summer, boys and girls, and then we like from age 4 all the way to 13, and then we have women's dropping in Q4. So that should come around September, October. So yeah, we're gonna have to really rethink our marketing and how we address those people. And it's a big conversation over here because you can't talk to two people the same way. We're gonna have to be a lot more sensitive with the way that we talk about women in advertising. We can't be demeaning. We can't kind of laugh at them like we laugh at guys. Guys are a different animal, and they're kind of used to being the brunt of the joke. I mean, any guy in this room knows how they talk to their guys and their friends is a very different the way women talk to each other. My wife would never talk to her girlfriends the way I talk to my guy friends, so it's a completely different animal, and we are definitely thinking a lot about how to position it. I think one of the things that we've realized pretty quickly here in developing the women's line is that we can't talk too much about fit the way we talk about fit with men, because men predominantly are the same fit and body type. It's just like how big is their stomach, really. Like guys are pretty universally the same body wise. When we were doing the fittings for women, I think one thing that really struck us was how different body shapes are for women, and that we won't really be able to nail some sort of one size fits all like we did with guys on the t-shirt. We will have to essentially just create a little bit broader of a collection and then steer away from talking too much about fit and really make the value proposition more around comfort and price. So like basically taking the Lulus of the world and the Aloes and making them significantly more affordable and more comfortable. And of course, everything will be fitted well, but it's not something we're going to lead with necessarily as it relates to marketing for that particular demo.
Do you mind if I pull up your LinkedIn? You had one about babies fit. Is that out there? That was hilarious. You mind if I pull that up real quick?
Yeah, go for it. That was a joke, obviously.
That was
but
hilarious.
That was
Let
our.
me see.
It was
I'll
like an
share this on the
April.
screen in a minute. Let's see if
Yeah.
it'll let me get LinkedIn.
So we developed all of that through ChatGPT, by the way. That all those stills and everything that was developed was done digitally through AI. So we had an idea for April Fools, like what should we do? And the team came back with, let's make toddlers look and feel good. Side by side, the classic side by side.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
It is so good.
And that
All with
that was
AI.
that was ChatGPT.
Yeah.
All right, so you're good now. Okay, so yeah, that
You're
was
good.
hilarious. So, well,
Thank
we'll
you.
ask another question, but like, how much while we're on that topic, how much are you using the AI to, Chat GPT or whatever for your advertising? And is that kind of evolving the role of the marketer at all? Or, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
It's not taking the place of ordinary model shoots yet because we're such a fit focused company that I want it to be as authentic as possible. I don't want to be showing our shirt on digital models that don't exist. I want our shirt to actually be on a real model so that people can trust that what they're looking at is real. So we're a lot different than most companies, and I don't think we'll ever be able to get 100% AI. But where I see it coming into play is more on like the lay flats, where you have shirts like kind of layered on top of each other, and you're making a really nice image out of it, a nice little collage. The ghost mannequin images, where you need to show the shirt, but you need to remove kind of the model from the shirt and make it just kind of an e-com shot. It works really, really well for that kind of stuff. So we used to have to go into Photoshop and make that happen, or even shoot it on a ghost mannequin. Now we can just literally prompt it and get it done in no time. I would say that the other place that we're using AI as far as creative goes is more on the iteration side. So like if we create a static image of something, like let's just call it a review with a picture of a shirt, right? We can essentially scrape the reviews on our website, load them up in AI, and have them digitally impose them on images one after the other. And we can create hundreds and hundreds of these in like minutes, where it used to take hours, days, weeks to do this kind of stuff. It just really makes our job a lot more efficient and allows us to focus on, the stuff that really matters in the business and less about kind of the busy work. By the way, just one thing I want to say about that, since I have a group full of young adults here. In the future, the biggest part of you getting hired somewhere will have to do with AI. Now, that isn't the case just yet today, but in a year or two from now, it will be a prerequisite anywhere you work, because wherever you go to work, they will already be leveraging AI. So if you come in and you're just the kid who knows a lot of stuff but doesn't use AI, you are not nearly as valuable as the person who knows nothing but wields AI at scale. That is a big, big, big transition from where we were even just a handful of years ago. So if you're an intern and you didn't even go to school, you are incredibly valuable if you know how to chat GPT your way around a business. I'm telling you now, you will become one of the most useful people in that company very quickly. And in a couple of years, like I said, it'll be a prerequisite to getting hired anywhere. They'll ask you, wow, you went to school. That's great. What do you know about AI? What tools do you use? How do you do this with AI? Have you ever used AI in your job? Give me an example. Show me what you've done. It will be the whole conversation because it's just not going away. It's getting much more efficient and much better every single day. And I know when we bring people in here, when they have experience with it, they just have such a leg up from everybody else because they can work circles around everybody, right? They just leverage it in a way that allows them to be, 10x the output of Joe over here who, has been doing the same thing for 20 years. Like, it's just the way it's going to be. So if I were you, school is important. Don't get me wrong. It's important to have a good degree. It's important to be surrounded by your peers and have that environment. But as you get out of school, what I would be dedicating most of my time to, if I had to go back, would be learning the problem, or I would be looking at the industry I want to get into, number one. So say that's operations. And then I would be looking at all the tools as it relates to operations. And I would be testing the crap out of them. And I would just be getting really proficient on them so that when I have that interview, I can bring that up and land that job, no problem. That would be the differentiator.
Do you think one of the issues too is there's like a new tool every 10 seconds being out there? So it's like so difficult.
It
'Cause
is.
obviously the GPT side's one thing, but then there's all kinds of other software coming out like every second. So
It's
would you
insane.
say just stick to categories? Like, hey, okay, this like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely. You have to find your lane. I mean, all these programs essentially all pull from a lot of the same APIs. So they're just kind of dressed up differently. But if you can master ChatGPT and, Gemini, and all the ones deep, like all the ones that are coming out right now, and work your way around those, you should be more than fine, because those other tools that are coming out are very singular focused, and a lot of the same prompting principles that you learn from the early AI like ChatGPT will apply to the new future tech. So, but I would say it's not going to be that hard to learn these. What's hard is figuring out how to engineer the prompts. But the software that comes that is very specific to an industry is a lot easier to learn, because they kind of build the framework for you, and everything's just a button click versus a, off the top of your head prompt that is going to, quickly get you to whatever solution you need to get to. But I agree with you. It's going so fast that I can't even keep up with what the newest platform is this week. It changes every single week.
Well, yeah, I think too, like with some of the papers I write, like there's enough nuance where if they just threw a general prompt, like I need you to write me a strategic plan, it'd be too generic to do something with. But if they could prompt through the levels, like, okay, we need to compare this to that, or look at the financials here or there, then I'd be like, okay, well, you prompted your way through the paper, so I have no issue with that. It's kind of like when someone throws a Hail Mary, it's like, write me a plan on something, it's too generic. So yeah, the prompt for sure, even in higher ed, is important, how to get through that.
The more detailed you can get on the prompt, the better. Like your prompts, if you're doing stuff like that, should literally be a paragraph. Like you should be writing multiple sentences in your prompt, and it's going to know what you're after, and it's just going to get you a more detailed answer. Because what'll happen if you don't do that is you'll have to keep reprompting it and getting to the answer you're after like 5 or 6 prompts versus one big prompt with everything inside of it, so that you don't have to keep, re-engineering.
All right, my student from one of my soccer players from Norway wants to jump in here. He wants an NIL deal. No, I'm kidding. What do you got?
Done.
Done. Let's go. All right, Alex, go ahead. Hey, speak loud so we can hear.
Since we're talking about like AI, since you're saying people need to learn how to use AI, should professors encourage students to use more AI instead of just not allowing it?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think it completely depends on what the curriculum is. I think it's a tough thing because it's so new that the professors are still trying to catch up as well and wrap their head around how this works into their existing curriculum. So it's a really tough position that everybody's in. The kids want to use it, the teachers want to avoid it, but it's just kind of inevitable that it is going to play a part. So I would say it really depends is kind of the answer. I would say in the future, though, that the teachers need to figure out a way for it to coexist, because it's just going to be part of all of our lives. Like on my screen, on my lock screen, I have 2 apps at the forefront. One is ChatGPT and one is Google Drive, where I have like all my coupons and codes that I give out to people. And those are the 2 most important apps in my entire phone. ChatGPT has gotten me through some unbelievably nuanced situations, even on like the medical side, things that happen with my kids that we don't know the answer to, where we need a doctor. It's remarkable. So, but to answer your question, it is going to evolve, and eventually the teachers will start tailoring their curriculum, keeping AI in mind, versus trying to just avoid it completely, because it's just taking over all of our lives, and it just has to become kind of a part of the conversation.
Well, yeah, one of the things I'm big on, and you mentioned this, school is important, and also is the tech. Like in strategy, we learn like how all of the decisions are interrelated. So if you do R&D on something, how does that trickle into your advertising and pricing? How does that trickle into your, production and capacity and automation? And how does that trickle into, how do you finance it? Are you using equity or debt or whatever? So I think the conceptual is still important, because you wouldn't know how to prompt the things. So I agree with you. Like there has to be the tech side and being up to date, but there's still, I think if we go all in on the tech without the conceptual, then you wouldn't know what you're prompting. So I like that kind of marriage of both.
Yep. And we'll all learn as we go. This is like, it's going so fast that no one really has any answers to anything yet.
All right, another question. Yeah, what you got, Bryce? Bryce is coming down, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause.
Love it.
All right.
Okay, so with kind of the NIL,
He's in the camera there.
My bad.
Okay, there you go.
so kind of off the NIL deal, like with college football becoming super huge in that, are you going to hunt like a superstar, like a Jeremiah Smith or a Arch Manning or somebody like that to try to get your name out there? Because there's all these guys now who are making millions of dollars. So I didn't know if you would try to get your name, associated with that or what.
Yeah, I mean, I see it all as an opportunity. I literally just had the coach of Nebraska follow me on Instagram the other day, Matt, and I DM'd him like, "Hey, I want to send all your guys like a bunch of your classic, like no cost. Like I just want to get it to them essentially." So yeah, I'm definitely looking at the younger generation as they come up and figuring out opportunities for them. I wouldn't say that we have it all figured out on that front. I'm still doing a lot of the brand deals myself just because the money's so big. But absolutely, I see it as a great opportunity to get in while these guys are young and have them come up in the league already supporting True Classic. So then when we do a bigger deal with them, they don't kill us on price. I mean, it's always better to start when they're nobodies, like when they're, just starting out in their career, because later, inevitably, that price goes up much higher. And hopefully they give me some grace when they do get into the NFL or MLB or whatever it is.
All right. Yeah, I saw that you got into Costco. We were just talking about in Target. We talk about kind of the generic strategies in here. So there's like the differentiator, the really high end, and then you got your low cost, like the Walmart brands, and then the best cost would be the high quality, but the cheaper price, not like the lowest, but in the middle. So has that been hard for you to navigate the quality with the price of it? Because like usually when you're in the middle, that margins, like the differentiator obviously has an easier time keeping the margins up because people will pay more, because it's exclusive. Where so have you had any issues on price, or people say you're either priced too high or too low or just right?
In these environments, you're saying, like the retail
Just in
environments?
general, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in general, always, but I would say it's become even trickier in retail because, if your price is one thing digitally, then they want it lower in a retail environment. Like the Costco's and the Targets don't want to compete with our online business. So we have to find a way to sell to them at a price that we're comfortable with, knowing that they're going to mark it up and it's still going to be less than what you would pay online, which is fine. Like that's just the trade-off you have to make for distribution. And we're okay with making that trade-off. But yeah, it's always a balance because like even when we run sales and things, we have to be very mindful to not go below the Costco price or the Target price, because if one of the reps goes to the website and sees that we have a steeper deal than what they have, well, they're going to hit us up and not be too happy about that. So we're always very mindful of balancing pricing and margin and everything. But the margins are really good in wholesale. We have a lot of room there. It's a very profitable business to be in the wholesale business. It's much easier too as just a business in general doing wholesale than it is to do it the way we did it, which is digital first, get to hundreds of millions online first. That is a tough hill to climb. We did it kind of backwards, like the Hanes of the world and all those guys went wholesale, and most of their business, they do, 5 to 6 billion a year. Most of that is wholesale. They do very, very little online. So we feel like, we are definitely going to find that ceiling online eventually, and wholesale is going to get us all the way there into the billions a year, like these other big companies have done. But you also have to do the groundwork on digital so that people recognize you in the retail environment. So it's this weird thing where it's smart to start with digital because once you do get in those environments, people are going to recognize you. If you just start with wholesale, no one's going to know who the heck you are other than random clothing company in the store, right? Like that's just not an easy decision to make when it comes as a customer. You want to be able to recognize that brand and go, oh yeah, I remember them. They did that one thing for that guy in that video and that was so nice of them. I'm going to support this brand because I am aligned with what their beliefs are. We believe in showing up for people. And so that makes a big deal when you're in these environments.
All right, question from Ethan.
So going back to like the sportswear, kind of sending out samples to other people, have you thought about doing like collabs with other types of companies or people, like limited time wear? Like if you do like limited edition like outfit or like shirt with Apple kind of thing?
Yeah, we are thinking about that. We haven't done a lot of that. We are just starting to think about that, actually, like building landing pages for like the Bussin' Boys, for example, Will and Taylor, who are big supporters of ours. And we did a deal with them. We're building a landing page where they have like their own kind of outfits that they predominantly wear. And then we build a page for them. And so, yeah, but it's those deals are difficult and it's a lot of cash. But I think they could be really great with the right people. Like I think Will and Taylor would be great. We're doing another one with some other potential athletes. I don't know yet who it's going to be. We're talking to a lot of different people about this, and it is something I'm thinking about. But again, it's not very scalable. And anything that's not scalable just takes manual hours. And I only have so many hours in a day to think about this stuff. And it's not really going to impact the business that much. So I don't tend to focus my time on things that don't massively influence the business, which is how you should think about business in general. If you're building one, what matters is like, I got to put my energy where the impact is, full stop. If that is Facebook ads, I better spend every waking moment I have trying to figure out how to get Facebook ads to work, which in the beginning it is for a lot of people. That becomes the primary focus. Even to this day, it's still a huge focus just because of how much we spend. So that's the way I think about these kind of things that you mentioned. It's like if it creates a little bit of an impact, it's interesting, but I'm just not going to get to it right away. I'm going to wait till the bigger things are in a greater place in the business and I can step back and go, okay, let me go back to sports. Let me go back to brand partnerships. Let me go back to landing pages and start to do those smaller initiatives.
All right, questions? We have another one. Yes, go ahead, Eric.
At the beginning, how do you ensure the success of your company, especially when it comes to marketing and exposing the brand?
So early on.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be great.
The question was, what was
What
it?
what would you recommend for early on in the business versus where you're at now? Like, what would you have done differently? You'd already mentioned the backwards of the wholesale and or not, the online first or whatever, but what, like a brand new business coming? Is that what you're asking, Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah. So brand new business, where is the biggest bang for your buck?
Okay.
Generally speaking.
Yeah. The best thing you can possibly, like, let's just say, I know a lot of you in this room right now, you probably have an idea. You probably don't know how to bring that idea to market. What you do, in my opinion, the best way to start is to learn drop shipping, learn the art of drop shipping and how to kind of run a little bit of an e-com website with an offering. So you could sell literally anything. If you look at AliExpress, they have all sorts of items that can ship directly to the consumer. You don't need to add any inventory whatsoever. You can just take a product, you can show it to people, you can sell it direct to consumer with none of the logistics headaches, and you can start to see how e-com works from internally. And then you have to run the show, though. You have to do the marketing, you have to do the customer service, and that's where it starts to become difficult. But it's a good training ground to kind of test your skill set to see if you're really built for this world. Because I can tell you that it may feel glamorous to be an entrepreneur, but it is largely a lot of stress, a lot of pain, a lot of tiredness, a lot of sleepless nights. And, you got to be able to handle a lot of debt on your shoulders. You got to be able to handle a lot of people's problems. This is all very daunting stuff. And unless you are truly, truly built for stress and pain, I would not start an e-com business. I would much rather work for a great company and be the number 3 or 4 or 5 guy in that company and make millions of dollars and have an amazing work-life balance than to be killing myself and having a terrible work-life balance for the sake of making a product work in the marketplace. So I try to discourage most people from starting businesses in a weird way because I just know how difficult it's going to be. And I see the tough side. I have entrepreneurs come to me that are beaten down and they're struggling and they're hurting. And I'm thinking to myself, man, had you just gotten a great job at Facebook or Google or one of the big tech companies, you'd be living the life. All your bills would be paid. You'd have health insurance. Like your life would be amazing. But you're trying to force this e-com lifestyle for what? Freedom? You think I have freedom? Just because we're worth 850 million, you think I have any freedom? I am at the mercy of 5 million customers, guys. I am at the mercy of 150 employees. I'm at the mercy of shareholders. I am more shackled than all of you combined, even at my level. So just take that in, what that means for a second. Do you want that life? I'm good with it. I've already made my bed. I am happy. I'm going to be good. And I'm not going to do this forever, right? Like eventually the shackles will come off and I'll live a free life where I can do whatever I want and wield the cash however I see fit. But what I would say is that you got to figure out what makes you happy. If it's working for someone else, there is nothing wrong with that. Plenty of successful, happy people having that life. If you do want to live that life, try drop shipping. Test something on Facebook, see if it works. If it does and you feel like you're onto something, then you can turn around and build a real brand out of it, right? Like you may not know what you want to sell. You may just know that you want to get into the business. So start selling a bunch of different things and just see what really clicks with you. The best fit is always something that you're really passionate about. I was always passionate about, clothing and feeling good with my clothing and looking good. And I really cared about that. And so it was very natural for me to start True Classic because I had a really good idea for the market. And it was something I really felt strong about. So you have to also, and that's why it worked because it's authentic. Like when I talk about the clothing that we produce, people can read the authenticity. And that really, really matters because if you don't believe in what you're selling, nobody else is.
All right. Yeah, I'm not built for pain or stress. So, yeah, that's why I'm a professor. Okay. Well, I want to talk to you too. I know that you'd been doing, last time that we talked about the community style, like almost like giveaways. Like I know that you were doing in California there with the fires. You set up a shop for people to come in and get clothes. And I know that you at one point were filling like teachers' Amazon baskets and such. Have you seen? And again, I know you could use like the community involvement both for advertising, but because it's like what you want to do. Have you seen any return on that, or like how is that going? Because we talked about that last time.
Yeah, I don't see it as an acquisition return or ROI at all. I see it as you have a duty as a human, right? Brad's duty is to educate you guys and send you out into the world better than when you came into his class. I have a duty to produce value for people at scale in the form of clothing. And now that I get the money from that clothing, I have a duty to do right by humans with that money. And that part of that duty is showing up for the community, right? So this is not a, hey, let me try something to look cool and use it as a marketing tactic. We're just showing people how we roll in life. And that comes off sometimes as marketing, but really it is just who we are. And it's who I am and who I've always been. I just didn't have the dollars to do right by people until the last 5 years. So, the dollars that I accumulated before True Classic, I used to build a family and survive in LA. And that's where it stopped because I didn't have any more money to give out. But part of starting True Classic was because I wanted to make an impact in the world. And so that's what you guys need to figure out for yourselves as students. It's like, what kind of impact do I want to make? I can promise you, once you figure out what that impact is through trial and error and just, kind of figuring it out the hard way, the world opens up to you. And you start to see that what you lean into the most will start to give back to you very quickly. And right now, you may not know what that impact looks like, but you essentially just have to go through the world trying to figure it out as best you can. But I can promise you, when you figure it out, it's going to feel very natural. And it's going to feel like, man, I don't know why I wasn't doing this my whole life. But But that's kind of the trick of life, right? That's why like you don't figure it out when you're young because you're too busy thinking about too many other things to really focus on what impact looks like in the world. You just don't really care that much when you're young. You're just trying to make ends meet. You're trying to get by, you're trying to get the best job you can. And those are all great things. But once you get past that, once you get into your early 30s, you're going to start to find yourself asking yourself, what am I supposed to do with my life? It can't just be this job. There has to be more to this. And that gut feeling that you're having is the world speaking to you going, you got to figure yourself out for all of our sakes so that you can be doing right by the human race. So you got to just figure what that is for yourself, lean into your strengths and really double down on what you're good at. I know some of you in this room already have an idea of what you're good at. And it may not seem on the surface that what you're studying lends itself to that. So a good example would be I came up, in the music industry a little bit early on, and I have really raw talent for music. And I was convinced that I had to make a living at music because that's what I was just naturally good at. What I've realized as I got older was that all that really was the universe telling me that I need to sharpen my creative skills because there was something bigger to come in the future for me. And now I find myself wielding those musical creative skills in business every single day. So like it might not look so obvious to you that your blueprint is connect A to B to C. It's connect A to M to L back to C. It goes all over the place. So you just got to hang on and lean into your strengths and kind of figure it out as you go. But focus on really what makes you happy, number one. I know that's easy to say right now, but jobs and money won't make you happy. They just won't. You'll get over that once you start making money. You'll realize that it's just so much bigger than that. And really what matters is your family, your health, your friends, and your everyday work-life balance and what that entails so that you can, stay positive and stay happy.
Ryan and I were competing drummers in high school, not a big deal. Yeah, so we weren't really competing. So, all right. Here, walk up here. Jackson Palmer, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
right.
Jackson, let's go.
And then look at the camera up there when you're talking because he can't see on the monitor. So look up there.
Hey, so the market you entered with True Classic seems to be pretty full of competitors. How did you go about differentiating your product initially and finding where you fit within that market?
So the good news about 99.9% of the markets out there is that on the surface, it may feel like they are exhausted and they are already all the way there. There's companies that have been building shirts for over 100 years, making billions of dollars. So it just seems very daunting, and I completely understand that. What hasn't been done is going way overboard on the intentionality aspect. So what does that mean? So you could look at any mundane object in the room right now, and you could basically find a way to go deeper on that. So let's just look at Celsius as a great example, right? I love Celsius. Who knows what's this going to do to me in the future? I know it seems like it's good, but who knows?
Unpaid promo. Okay.
Exactly. So let's just use this as an example. Now you would say, I'm going to say, let's go into the sports, energy business, drink business, right? And you would say, oh my God, no way. Gatorade crushes, Prime, like all these guys are crushing Celsius. But what they're not doing is doubling the amount of vitamins in here. That is one way to go more intentional right off the bat. So you see this large list of vitamins. Why don't I just double all those? And now you're getting 2x the vitamins of Celsius. Now you have outdone them on the health aspect and you can market it that way, right? So that's my point is like everything may seem done. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to make everything better. Most things are about 50 to 60% of the way there. You just got to come in and go, how do I get it 90% of the way there, become way more intentional for the customer, market it just a little bit different than everyone else has. And that's exactly what I did with t-shirts. I didn't reinvent the wheel. I didn't make a new t-shirt. I just made it a better t-shirt. So that's really the answer is like, look at an industry and just ask yourself, is there opportunity to make this better? If the answer is yes, which it always is, then you're on to a business. So it's not like you should look at anything and be scared. Everything has room to massively improve, unless you're talking about like an iPhone or something crazy technical and difficult. I wouldn't go down that route. Maybe you will, but I'm just saying there's a lot of easy ones that are low-hanging fruit that you can kind of jump on and accelerate. And so just try to improve something. Just make it better. That's really my advice.
Let's do a fun one. I saw you hanging out with Simon Sinek. He's one of the leadership guys. How are you meeting all these people? Like, who's someone who have you been hanging out with lately, or at least been rubbing elbows with, other than me?
Yeah. Simon's a big True Classic guy. And if you know anything about Simon, if you go back and watch his TED Talk from 15 years ago, What is Your Why? It's one of the most important videos you guys could take away, which is, and it was really inspiring to me when I watched it 15 years ago. What is my why? Why should people care? And your why is essentially what moves you, not your value props, but like I do what I do because my why is because I want to make an impact on the world. And so everything I do revolves around that North Star. So that's my why. You got to figure out what your why is. And Simon has a really great video in kind of breaking that down and how you can, figure that out for yourself. And that'll just help you kind of drive towards a North Star ultimately. But his sister reached out to me. His sister is his manager, and she reached out to me like a month and a half ago and just said, hey, Simon is a huge fan of True Classic. He loves what you guys are doing. He recognizes you are super intentional about your product and the way you move in the world. And we'd love to have lunch with you and figure something out, like do some sort of, collaboration together. And so it was like one of those moments where I'm like, dude, this guy is a legend in the kind of thought leadership world. Him and like Gary Vee and all these guys who are now become friends of mine. But it was very surreal because I love Simon and I watched 1 million of his videos coming up in the world as a young lad. So I went and had lunch with him. He was just as cool in person as he is on video. And we just had a great conversation about, the story of True Classic, where it started and why I'm so overly intentional, like what my background is. And he's really interested in the nuance of like, how do you get to the point where your why is that you want to impact humans? Like he wanted to really unpack that. And I walked him through my upbringing, my parents, what they used to do for the community, how we were raised, and like all the building blocks that led me to be who I am today. He was interested in knowing that. And so that's really why he wanted to meet. And he doesn't do any kind of collabs with any brands. He's only done a collab with, I think, Phil's Coffee and one other brand that does backpacks. So I was very interested in figuring out how do we get Simon, kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, like building a landing page, getting a celebrity involved on some level and having them pick their favorite shirts and doing some sort of rev share deal. But yeah, we're still working out the specifics. But that was a really cool, like, pinch me moment where I'm sitting there and he asked me, what can I do for you? And I just said, Simon, you already did it. Like, your videos already got me to where I'm at today. You and Gary Vee are mentors to me in a way, because I really watched all your YouTube series and I learned a lot. I learned how to treat the customer right. I learned how to think about marketing. So like you just being here for lunch with me is way more than enough, man. Like I don't need anything from you. Like this is it. You sitting here across from me asking me questions is the holy grail for me. So I don't need anything, man. Like just thank you for your time and coming down and meeting me. And ironically, he met me at a restaurant where I started True Classic. It was a place called Emilio's in the Valley, which is a little Italian place where this is where True Classic started. And now here I am, 5 years later, coming full circle, sitting down with Simon for lunch in the same place. It was an incredible day, man. I'll never forget it. But he's such a cool guy. Other celebrities that I'm talking to, I mean, it's kind of all over the place. We always find out who is kind of into us and who isn't. Like it comes through randomly.
They want to know about someone wants to know about Dana White.
I have yet to meet Dana White, actually. I know everybody around Dana White except Dana White. So I know I'm going to meet him eventually, probably at the blackjack tables, because we're both high stakes gamblers. So I'll probably meet him there before I meet him anywhere else, because he's hard to get to. And I have had opportunities to meet him, but the timing just wasn't right. Like, there was one time I had the chance to meet him, and they wanted me to drive down in traffic for like 2 hours one way just to meet him and then turn around and go home. And I was like, look, I love Dana and I'm a huge fan, but like, I'm not driving multiple hours in traffic just to shake someone's hand. I'm just sorry. Like, it didn't work out, but I will meet him someday for sure.
All right, Alex, go ahead.
You hit on 16 against the 10? You hit on 16 against the 10?
Do you hit on 16 against a 10? How's that business
Absolutely.
related?
Absolutely. I am. And look, you can surrender too, right? There's the school of like, not to go full gambling on you guys right now, but I do have a good point about that actually that I'll bring up after this. But yes, I hit on 10 I hit on 16 every single time, because it is, you either hit on it every time or you don't hit on it every time. That is one thing that blackjack players know, that you either go one way or the other. Dana's the same way. He hits on 16. We're kind of a go for it type of mentality and personality anyway. So like, you'll never see us surrendering. A surrender is where you take half your money back if it looks like it's a bad opportunity. Like, let's say the dealer's showing a 10 and I have a 6 in my hand. I'm like, you're supposed to surrender, the math says, but like, who's going to give up? Not me. I'd rather go down swinging and die trying. So like, I'm just not the guy to give up, and for better or worse. But I will tell you one thing about gambling, that I am very, very successful at gambling. And I'll tell you why. I have unbelievable discipline. And where that discipline comes into in business and in life, and my wife knows this about me. Like, if I start working out, I don't stop working out. Like, I get on that train and I keep going. And that is a strength of mine. Gambling is the same way. I am able to walk away from a win, even if it's, a few $1,000, 10,000, whatever it is. I know that's a lot of money. I made it sound like it's nothing, but like, when you're playing 1,500 to 2,000 a hand, winning a few thousand is not that big a deal. So my strength is being able to not get greedy. And that's where the discipline comes in. So in a gambling session, you can either go up or down, right? Inevitably, if you play long enough, you will be up at some point in the session. If you leave in that tiny little window of being up, you will win most times. But what everyone does is they get up and then they think they're going to the moon and they're going to win $10 million, and they just keep going and then they lose everything. That's what every gambler does. That is the classic gambler's mentality. So if you want to win in gambling, leave while you're ahead. Even if it's a few bucks, I promise you over the long run, you will be a winning player versus trying to always go for it and get super greedy and then chase your losses when you're leaving. That is the perfectly wrong thing to do.
I got to title this episode Tariffs, Gambling, and something else with Ryan Bartlett. That'd be great.
I know. With a
We're
bunch
going
of
to the
students.
casino field trip. No? Okay. All right. Yes.
It's me again.
Yeah.
I got another question.
Let's
So
go.
I know you said or Ward said you're worth a ton of money.
Well, the business is valued at 100.
Or the business is valued at 850. So I assume you said you had a wife and maybe some kids. I assume you have absolutely like no time whatsoever and you're always working and you're a workaholic. Would you go back and would you choose a life to make like 80, 90,000? I know you're in California. That's nothing. Let's just say $100,000 in California and work a 9 to 5, 5 days a week and have time with your wife and kids, or would you just choose the life that you have now and, be a workaholic?
Yeah.
Going for the heart here.
Yeah,
So
this is like man to man, not as much business, but
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think the assumption is that I am a workaholic, but I actually I take my kids to school, so I get all the mornings with them, and then while they're in school, so I can't see them anyway. And then I leave here at 3. So I am home by 3:30 and I'm with my kids till they sleep. So I'm with them when they wake up, I'm with them till they sleep, and I have an amazing work-life balance. But that took me time to get to that place. So yes, I work a lot, but I also find time for the things that matter in life. So I would not trade places with an 80,000 a year version of me, because I would have that insatiable desire to do better for humanity. Like I want to achieve more so that I can do more, right? When you have a lot of money, you have a lot of leverage in the world to do right by people in a lot of creative ways. And I wouldn't want to lose that for anything, because now that I'm here, I can tell you it is the greatest single thing I've ever been able to do is sit around and think about how to spend money against humans and help their lives. That is such an incredible feeling that it's the ultimate high. I don't do drugs and alcohol. That is my high. That is my drug. I gamble a little bit once in a while, and then I give away to the world. Those are my drugs, right? Like that's it for me. So it is an unbelievable high to have too, because you get to see it come full circle with people when you improve their lives. Even like doing this with you guys, I get a lot out of it because I know a few of you are going to take a few of these things and you're going to carry them with you the rest of your lives, and you're going to remember some of the things that I said, and it's going to pay dividends. And I'm going to meet some of you guys in the years to come, and you're going to tell me, you know, hey, that one thing you said sent me on a path, and I just want to thank you for that. And we're going to shake hands, and it's going to be a great moment, and we're both going to like get something out of it. So I think it's okay to have a disproportionate work-life balance at times in your life. I think that as you get more successful and you grow older, you figure out a better mix. But in the early days, it was okay for me to just work my face off and, you know, completely neglect everybody around me for the first couple of years because I had no choice. That was what I gave up to be successful, right? Like that's just part of it. If you're going to build a massive company, you're going to have to kill yourself for a little bit of time. And that's okay. It's just a little bit of time. It's not forever, right? Like I probably killed myself for like 3 years out of the 5 years. And now I'm in a much better place. So that's you got to make that adjustment somewhere along the line though.
All right. Well, we're about out of time. I have a student trying to get swag from you, and that's nice. Anyway, well, that's it for today. So thanks here. Round of
I will
applause so
say-
we can hear it. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
on.
Just to close out,
Thanks
I
so
do want to
much.
say, everyone in the audience, how many people are there?
You don't want to know. There's like 36.
Everyone's getting $100 in True Classic credit. Okay. And if you're a female, you definitely have a guy in your life or a dad or a brother or somebody that you could gift it to. So just know that like everyone's getting $100 in the classroom, regardless of if you said a question or not. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, there we go. All right. Yeah. I could hardly hear you because they were going crazy in here. By the way, I didn't want to set you up like that. You could have just clicked the video off if you wanted to. So
Nah, dude, I go crazy on giving. It is the best thing ever. And I hope that next time we do one of these, a bunch of people are already wearing True Classic because of the credit I gave out. So, it all comes full circle, man. I never see any giving as a zero-sum game. It always comes back one way or the other in a positive way. And it's just the way I roll.
well, awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. I'll be in touch. And again, I really we're thankful that you were able to come on and talk to us.
Yeah, man, it was a lot of fun.
All right, take care. See ya.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.